Nduta camp in Tanzania is home to more than 40,000 refugees who fled ongoing violence in neighbouring Burundi. When we visited, we were only allowed to interview refugees who'd been screened by officials from the UN Refugee Agency. The UN says it was for refugees' protection. Several other people wanted to speak to us about security in the camp, but were not allowed. So we contacted them by phone after we left.
The camp is currently not safe. We live in fear of Burundian government militia, who are in the camp.
We've spoken to many refugees by telephone who say similar things. Many of them name particular individuals who they say are agents sent by the Burundian government to the camps to track members of the opposition. They say those agents have attempted abductions and killings, and they say these incidents have been reported to camp officials, but many of the agents are still at large. Several more refugees said a group of dozens had left the camp in November, believing they were joining an armed rebel group in Burundi. They say they later learned it was a trap set by government militia, and they say people in Burundi told them most in that group were killed. One man told us he was among them. He gave a detailed account and says he escaped.
Some of our group were tied up. We were loaded onto a truck and driven away. My friend and I jumped off and ran away to the Tanzanian border, where we met more government militia. They killed my friend, but I escaped over the border.
The Burundian Foreign Minister, Ale Nyamitwe, told us on the phone that the allegations are baseless. In the Tanzanian capital, Dar es Salaam, the UN said any of the refugees should have been allowed to speak to us, and that senior UN officials were not aware of these particular cases.
Because if we had solid evidence, of course, it would be our duty to try to do something about it. But through the government, we are not responsible for actually security and safety.
But screening the constant flow of new arrivals in the camp is not easy. Here, Tanzanian police search their baggage for weapons. The Tanzanian government also says it was not aware of the allegations, but that it's doing all it can to make the camp secure.
The government has been very strict, and in fact, whenever we have spotted any kinds of activity that trying to suggest that they are kind of a recruitment, that we have actually taken serious measures. Only last week, some refugees were actually apprehended and they are taken before the courts and charged.
Meanwhile, a leaked UN report accuses the Rwandan government of recruiting and training Burundian refugees to fight against the Burundian government from this refugee camp in neighbouring Rwanda. Rwanda denies it. Back in Tanzania, both the UN and the government say part of the problem is that they're desperately short of funding to deal with the Burundian refugees. And the refugees say they just want a place to be safe. Malcolm Webb, Al Jazeera, Tanzania.